are back to our chemistry class. This is the third session, the last part of the lesson physical and chemical changes. In the first session, we went through a number of examples of physical and chemical changes. In the second part, we went through a few chemical reactions and noticed their indications. And we learned the importance of chemical reactions in our day-to-day life. Now itself, see, we have been using soaps, sanitizers, hand wash, detergents, other chemicals to clean, wash vegetables and fruits, and lotions, bleaches, etc. to clean the surroundings. All these are the results of or the end products of a number of chemical reactions. And you know, all around the world, researchers are trying to find effective medicine against this coronavirus by conducting, observing and testing the results of chemical changes. So that it is very important to learn about chemical reactions. We learn how to express them in the form of chemical equations too. So these were the positive results of chemical reactions. But there are of course some negative side of it too, like spoiling of food, rotting, decaying, etc. One such undesirable change due to this chemical reaction is what we are going to learn today, which is called rusting of iron. A rusting of iron. See this. What you see here is a park bench or grill exposed to the atmosphere, exposed to air and water continuously. And it undergoes a change chemical in nature, which destroys it or damages it after years and making it useless if not properly maintained. You can notice a brown substance got attached over this. What is the problem of the formation of brown substance? How it damages this iron objects? See, this brown substance is the result of a chemical change. The iron in this object reacts with atmospheric oxygen in the air and water molecules because of rain or the water vapor in the air and changes to a new substance called iron oxide. The brown substance is iron oxide and we call it a rust. So iron changes to iron oxide. That is why the change is a chemical change and the substance is getting lost from the object and it changes or makes damage in the object, and finally the object will become useless if not properly maintained. See, a number of objects made by iron. Since iron is used to make a large number of objects from nail to tools to ships, gates, the roofing sheets, we have plenty of use by iron objects. So when they are damaged, the monetary loss will be huge. So how can we prevent it, or can we prevent it effectively? Yes. See, this is the equation, the form of equation of this chemical change. Iron reacts with oxygen in the air and water and forms a rust, which is iron oxide, hydrated iron oxide. Here, see, for the rusting process, both oxygen and water is necessary. So, if we want to prevent the process called rusting, we have to avoid or keep the iron objects away from coming in contact with oxygen, water, or both. So, preventing them from coming in contact with these two factors, air, oxygen and water, we can prevent a rusting. The simple methods we use are, first one, painting. You have seen this painting of iron gates, grills, staircases outside, park benches, furniture, vehicles and machines are protected from rusting by painting. And this also is familiar to you, greasing or oiling of cycle chain, or to avoid friction we will oil or grease the pulleys, other machineries or hinge to avoid friction, but it is reducing rusting process too. And this must be done frequently to avoid rusting. One another and effective method is galvanization. Okay, if the pipes that carry water to homes are made of iron and due to continuous contact with the water, there is the possibility of rusting faster than ever. So, galvanization is a method to prevent iron from rusting by applying a coating of zinc over iron objects. So, giving a coating of metals over iron is a method of protecting it from rusting. The metals used are chromium or zinc. When zinc is used in this purpose, this process is called galvanization. So the pipes that carry water to your homes are galvanized sheets. The bridges, which comes always in contact with water, undergoes this process very quickly. So galvanization is the effective method of protecting it from rusting. The next method is changing to stainless steel, that is iron to stainless steel. Steel is an alloy of iron. We can make stainless steel by mixing iron with carbon and metals such as nickel, chromium and manganese. So the stainless steel in different forms do not rust. Okay, even though rusting is a slow process, in rainy season, when the humidity is high, this process is faster than other seasons. So, when humidity is high means when water vapor in the air is more, or in rainy season, the possibility of iron objects getting rusted is more. Similarly, in coastal areas too. See why is rusting is faster in coastal areas than in deserts. So think about it and make an answer. Already you may know the answer by the clues we have learned by now. Okay, see, we have been painting, greasing or galvanizing objects to protect them from rusting. Still, ship made of iron suffers a lot due to rusting because it always comes in contact with water, it cannot avoid it. All the more, seawater contains a number of salts dissolved in it. So the presence of salt also increases the rusting process, or it makes the rusting process faster. So even though it is painted, the ships suffer due to rusting. So some parts of the ships are replaced every year. This also causes a huge monetary loss. Okay children, now we are going to learn a different process called crystallization. You may know what is meant by crystal, big crystals. You have seen crystals of copper sulfate, I hope. We are going to learn how this big crystals of copper sulfate is formed from its solution. See this. First we are going to take copper sulfate powder and dissolve this in a beaker of water. Add a few drops of 2 or 3 drops of sulfuric acid in it and warm or heat the solution. Then continuously add this copper sulfate powder in it by keep on stirring until the solution becomes a saturated solution. You know what is meant by saturated solution? We cannot add or dissolve more solute in it. Then remove the beaker from above the flame. Then filter the solution and allow it to cool. So after cooling, you can see the big, large and pure crystals of copper sulfate forming from the solution. So this is the way how we make pure and large crystals of substances from their solution, and this process is called crystallization. But observe the change. What happened to copper sulfate? It was in the form of powder, now it is in the form of big crystal. No change in its qualities, changed its size. So, according to the change occurred to copper sulfate, it is only physical in nature. Okay children, now we are going to learn a new and interesting topic about ozone. Have you heard about ozone? Recently, it had been a discussion in the media about ozone layer, ozone hole, or shrinking or healing of ozone, etc. Did you notice that? Did you understand anything from those discussions? Okay, since it is so relevant a topic as global warming or weather change or melting of ice in the polar region, etc., this is also a topic of our study. I would like to teach you about this a little bit more. You know, our earth is made up of different layers of air like troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. This ozone layer, which is made up of ozone gas, existing in the stratosphere above troposphere, you can see. This is a thin layer of 3 to 5 millimeter thickness made up of ozone gas, and ozone gas, an allotrope of oxygen, is made up of 3 oxygen atoms. Although being a trace gas, that is, the number of molecules is very less compared to air. That is, in 1 million air molecules, you can see only 3 ozone molecules. Still, it is doing a wonderful job of filtering ultraviolet radiations which are harmful to the life forms from sunlight. This sunlight falls on the ozone layer, which absorbs the radiations and filters it without reaching the harmful rays on the surface of Earth. What if it reaches on the surface? Of course, it causes severe damage to life forms. That it increases the risk of skin cancer, cataract problems to the eyes. It seriously affects the immune system, and it also affects even single-celled organisms, aquatic animals, and even plants. So, this small invisible layer, which has a pale blue color, acts as a sunscreen to protect us from the harmful radiations, and it is called the protective shield. Acts between harmful sunlight's UV rays and our life forms on the earth. Let us see how it does. Let us see how ozone protects us from ultraviolet radiations. You know, the normal oxygen that we breathe is made up of 2 atomic oxygen. So, oxygen molecule is made up of 2 oxygen atoms. When this normal oxygen atoms in stratosphere absorb ultraviolet radiations, getting the energy, it is break up into 2 single oxygen atoms. and each of these single oxygen atoms combine with the two oxygen molecule forms ozone with three oxygen atoms. This is the form of ozone, which is unstable in nature. So when this ozone molecule absorb ultraviolet rays again, they break up into oxygen and single oxygen atom. So this cycle of ozone oxygen formation continues in the layer of ozone. So far it was fine and good, going on well until in 1970 scientists noticed that some chemicals damaging or destroying this ozone layer. Some chemicals, man-made chemicals coming out from industrial and consumer appliances like refrigerators, air conditioners, fire extinguishers and aerosols came up towards the ozone layer, and when absorbing the UV rays, they released chlorine, which has the potential of destroying ozone, causing a thinning of the layer. The thinning of ozone layer is called depletion of ozone layer or ozone hole. It is not like the word means, like it is not a hole, but the thin region in the ozone layer. In 1989, the Montreal Protocol banned such products which released the chlorine that caused damage in ozone layer. So afterwards, the level of ozone depleting chemicals level is reducing in the atmosphere. It is noticed that the thinnest layer in the ozone layer is nearby poles, especially Antarctic region, and the low temperature level above in the atmosphere cause change of CFCs to ozone damaging gases. But it is also noticed that because of some abnormal weather conditions above Antarctic region, the hole in ozone is shrinking now and it is healing and patching up. So it is a good sign. Scientists believe that if it goes on like this, by 2050, the level of ozone will come back to the normal level. But if the reverse happens, we will not have an ozone layer by 2065. So it is a serious issue. So as a responsible citizen, what we should do is be aware of this issue and spread information to your friends and families, and make sure that you don't have an appliances like this which is more than 20 years of old, and make sure it is replaced with a new one and dispose the old one safely. So this is about ozone. So students, we are going to wind up. So in this session, what we learned is what is meant by rusting, what are the reasons of rusting, how can we prevent iron objects from rusting. Then physical change called crystallization. Then we came back to this relevant issue, ozone depletion, and how ozone layer protect us from harmful ultraviolet rays. We discussed physical and chemical changes separately in the previous sessions. Just one thing to remind you, there are changes which combine or which is having these two types of changes at a time. Simple example, you are using LPG gas at home for cooking purposes. It's obtained in cylinder, in the liquid form. It is liquefied petroleum gas. When it comes out, it is in the form of a gas. So change from liquid to gas, it is only a physical change, physical in nature. But when it burns, when anything is burning, it is a chemical change. So two changes combined together. So I hope you have learned almost everything in this lesson. So I would like to stop it now. Thank you for watching this.